Hello everyone, I would like to welcome you all. Today we have with us a special guest, a genius of 330 degrees post-production, Andrej Szramko. Please greet him with a round of applause. Hello. Andrej deals with virtual reality movies. He will tell us how to create a shot that was impossible to do so far. He's a great pilot too, not only producer of rigs and drones. I invite you to this fantastic meeting. You can ask questions in the meanwhile. Let me just, I just wanted to say two words. I would like to say hello to Andrej, because it's very difficult not to find Andrej in the internet. If you're looking about the VR, new technologies, rigs, Gaussian splat, etc., etc. We managed to do some projects together. So we're so happy to have you here with us, Andrej, as a lecturer, and I hope that this is not the last time. Thank you. Thank you. For me, it's pretty difficult. It's my first public appearance of this sort. In general, what I'm doing, I'm producing and designing specialist equipment for recording movies for virtual reality in such a way as nobody could do that before. I cooperate and create equipment for National Exotic, the Geographic, Amazon, Apple, Red Bull, MasterCard. I've worked with these companies. Where did it all start? 10 years ago. Actually, I've been working 12 years in TV as a computer graphics designer, and then I decided to change my profession when when the first 360 degrees camera Theta 1 appeared on the market, then Samsung, and it was not the quality was not sufficient for recording. The cameras could take only shots, not time lapses. So I decided to do my first hack of this camera so that it could record time-lapse shots. And at that time, I did the first in the world time-lapse shot and at 8K resolution, which I could not display on any computer 10 years ago. So I loved it so much that I could do something really new that nobody could do in the world. I was wondering what else I could accomplish. I like to do hyperlapses on a normal photo camera, so time lapse in movement. So I decided that I want to do 360 degrees hyperlapse in movement. There was no cable systems for this, so what I did the first in the world cable system that was invisible in the 360 degrees camera. All the equipment was on stitching lines. At that time, I recorded the first in the world hyperlapse shots. This is the first equipment that I built, so that the camera could go down the rope, on a trolley, and take shots. That's the first camera, GoPro camera, and then I decided I found out how to make stabilization of this system. I came up with a special gimbal that stabilized the camera because there was no software no specialized software to stabilize 330 degrees shots. So that was my first gimbal through which I could make stabilized shots in 8K resolution 10 years ago. Then I've decided that the quality of those cameras are not sufficient for me. I started to come up with ideas how you can bring together 360 degrees rigs with high quality cameras so that later I could make a stitched video in the best quality and the best frame rate. In the National Geographic noticed that I published a few of my projects, special sliders prepared for macro 3D 360 degrees. And these shots I made in such a way, I did them in such a way that I recorded 360 degrees on one rope. The camera turned to this side of this one's lens. It took picture, then it moved 5 millimeters. It took another shot and another turn, and this is how I did. This looks incredibly when you put on the goggles. And from the level of the ant, from that level from which you've never seen that world before, and you will never otherwise would see that world, where the grass is next to you, highest buildings, like small animals are all around you. This real world from that level looks totally different. Can you show us an example? I will find you an example. So this is one of the projects I did for National Geographic. 20 cameras are recorded on a computer. Here you've got a test, and the camera is very, very small, and there are 20 lenses all around this camera in order to record 3D 360 degrees. Do you have goggles with you with those materials? Can you show that later? Outside, after that, I do not have VR goggles, but we can download these materials. I do have in Google Drive, and I can show you what it looks like. We can later go to the editing room and show it on the goggles that we have here. This is the 360 degrees equipment I did. And then when we started to work, here you have one 360 degrees variant 3D that was prepared for macro shots. These are my first drones for 360 degrees cameras. These drones are very, very thin. It's 1 centimeter thick, so that it could have one lens on the top, one lens on the bottom, so that when you stitch it, you don't see the drone at all. So later, I created the most powerful gimbal for heavy professional 360 degrees cameras. It weighs about 20 kilograms, and this gimbal is unique. It has no counterweight. You do not need to balance it, so it's very light to hold. You can use it on drones. One of the last projects that I did for such cameras, 360 degrees for the big ones. I've been cooperating with a number of companies that are now producing this equipment. The camera's 360 degrees, and they send this equipment to me so that I could test it to see the quality. I made a number of recordings here and promos for them. And this is a camera they sent to me, and I decided immediately to prepare a stabilizer for them, the gimbal for this. This is a one-axis stabilizing gimbal for this camera. Maybe 3 months ago, for Red Bull project for Facebook, I prepared 3-axis stabilizer for a camera that has not been yet announced. It will be a new camera, out of which they recorded a parachute jump. So it has to go on a parachute from the bottom to 4,000 meters. In order they wanted to record that flight, and there was a camera on a stick with a special underneath with a special stabilizer that I came up with. It is made out of propellers. This is a small variant. I will show you how it works. Nobody else does such stabilizers. Nobody did anything like that before. I quite often publish my equipment. There are companies who see that and they start to manufacture this. And so there are plenty of systems I came up with, and they were produced by some other companies. This is a camera made out of 19 GoPros, the first prototypes of the camera for 3D recording in 360 degrees slow motion, to throw these cameras next to Red Bull sportsmen who are doing water high jumps. So this is the announcement of that movie. So this was a cable system which throws with a programmed speed, throws this camera with a programmed speed. When you pick up the goggles, you together with a slow motion in 360 degrees 3D, you fly down into the water, following the sportsman. There's a longer movie there. The challenge was to create, especially this cable systems with a special engine that would have the same speed of throwing the camera, or would throw the camera, and 1 meter before it hits the water, it would stop it from falling into the water so that it doesn't dive. So these cameras, the first camera, the first cameras that I had with a plastic made of plastic, it exploded when it hit the water. So I'll show you one of the stabilizers. Here you have a stick that we put under different types of drones. It's a heavy one, so you could put it under an Inspire. On top you have an FPV camera through which I'm guiding the Inspire drone. I quite often I'm flying not on a tablet. For me, it's easier to fly through FPV camera. Even if I fly with a small drone, I put this equipment FPV there, and I'm flying through that because I do feel the distance of all small things, and even with such a big drone, I can easily fly here around the room, come back, fly there, even out to the corridor. So if you don't know what is FPV, what is the difference between the FPV and the tablet? FPV or normal camera. FPV, you have goggles like that. You put them on your eyes, over your eyes, and you have a broadcast directly from the camera. then you are always next to that drone, and you feel its if you feel well its dimensions. You can steer in very small spaces, very contracted spaces. This is the first system in the world of stabilization, like the 360 degrees 3D videos. Yaw axis this is one stabilization. This is the motor that stabilizes this in the yaw dimension, and here you have the stabilization of the pendulum effect. If you do not have the gimbal, then you always have this sort of wobbly movement, and you cannot stabilize it in post-production. So when you turn on this gimbal, when I want to make a movement, when I turn it off, then I would have the pendulum effect. This movement of the camera, it cannot be stabilized in post-production. You can stabilize it on the axis, but not this one. This camera it was also devised and produced by myself. This is the lightest camera that records 360 degrees in 14K resolution. Tell me, what is the upside of you having the propellers in comparison to the traditional gimbals, the ones that the normal one? Do you reduce the weight? Yeah, a huge reduction of weight, because all the gimbals that are in existence and are being marketed, they have to have the counterweight and a huge motor. Here we have a very weak motor, but the motors, in terms of power, they give you the same power as the big ones, and because we do not, and these motors do not get overheated because we have cooling. A normal 3-axis gimbal will never stabilize that sort of movement. This was the last gimbal that I prepared, was the one that had 3 axes of a standard gimbal here, which stabilizes, and then there was an additional gimbal that was stabilizing the pendulum effect. That was always the main problem of all 360 degrees videos, is the ideal stabilization, because if you do not stabilize the video in the flight, when you try to watch it, you will feel sick. And stabilization in post-production is not always possible. In the same way, I'm coming up with different methods of 360 degrees video stitching, because this is also one of the main problems, to combine all of the cameras into one 360 degrees sphere, where on the stitching line, this combination between one and the other lens doesn't cause you problems. There is a software which helps you do that. However, if you want to do anything, an ideal stitching in any way, in order to avoid problems with optical flow along those lines, you have to come up with a different idea. So I made a project once, Soloist, that's the name of the project, with the stitching, where I came up how to make an ideal stitching in such a way that you could even showcase that. And this film got first place in the Cannes Mixer Festival of Virtual Reality Movies. Can you show that to us? It's a film about a boy who's an individual climber. So now, together with these guys, even today, they're recording new shots. They designed. I designed for them a new drone to allow the jumps of Red Bull sportsmen who do base jumping. You know, they like the flying mouses in the costumes. Flying mice in the costumes, and I had to create a special drone that flies at 250 kilometers per hour, and it's called Cinelifter. So we've created this drone. I've created special cameras for the drone. In order to be able to record slow motion 12K, 360 degrees. And 2 days ago, we recorded the first jump. I can even show you a draft stitching, so that it was just a draft stitching, so that the director could see if everything was recorded properly. Because when you're recording, you don't know whether it recorded well or not. The first such flight was stitched not in 3D, but in 360 degrees centigrade, so you can see the problems with the stitching lines. It's recorded at 120 FPS. And the whole flight will be recorded at 250 kilometers per hour. And this drone, which you can see here, it flies together with them. The first shot was made pretty far away from them because this is dangerous. The drone has open propellers. In order to fly very close to them, you have it causes turbulence, which causes problems to the drone if you want to keep very close to them. They're flying to this valley, and we land earlier. Here's the guy who will be trying to catch the drone. And then we have recordings how this sportsman landed. Another sportsman. You can see the fingers, of course, because he didn't catch the drone properly. His fingers will be seen. This shot will probably not make it. This was like a test, just to see if the drone works properly, so that we could do further testing later. Because it's a very long distance, and in such places you always can have a problem with connection, with connection between the drone and the rest of equipment. Apart from all of that, I was much interested in the new possibilities of Gaussian splat scanning. And I prepared a number of projects. One of the projects was made for a musical video that was recorded with an iPhone. And it was ordered by Apple. They wanted to have 3D scans. Let me turn that off. They wanted to have very quickly a matrix effect. when everything freezes in place and you fly around. And they wanted they called me to ask me if I can very quickly prepare a rig for scanning this thing. We prepared the rig out of iPhones. They created this, they recorded this, and I found a programmer who could help me with the Gaussian splats. And that's when we prepared the first public scan for a big production in Gaussian splats. Adrian, Andrej, can you explain what is photogrammetry, and how is Gaussian splat different from photogrammetry? How is it better? I think this is the best example. In photogrammetry, in scanning, like for a normal photogrammetry, you will never scan such a space. This leaves, trees, different reflections of the water, glass. It would be impossible to scan it in a typical photogrammetry. In Gaussian splat, all that is built out of very small parts, maybe not polygons, but splats, which change the color depending on how do you look at it, which side do you look at it from. And then you can scan even such things. So this is something that I've been recording recently in different spaces, so that these 3D scenes could be put on LED screens. And it's used for recording musical videos or movies. And these scenes are... Is it from a camera? No, it's a scan. It's a 3D scan. When you put it at the screen, on a big screen, in a virtual studio, and you will be recording on the normal camera, then it feels as if you are in the forest. Then for MasterCard, the MasterCard asked me to prepare another rig that would allow me to quickly record actors and later make an animation out of them. This was the first prototype that I did from a very few number of GoPros, and here it was the final prototype. You had 20 cameras, 20 GoPros, which are synchronized on a tablet, start-stop recording. Then I used that video to generate 360 degrees 3D shots. So this is for MasterCard. I recorded these people with a rig that I showed you a moment ago, built out of GoPros, and with so many GoPros, you could actually shoot it from a single GoPro, but it's very difficult then, because then the actors cannot have to be motionless for a very long time. So I decided to go with a number of GoPros along the whole height of this rig. So with one movement, with one walk around, you could very quickly record the material for the generation of a 3D model like this. This is a ready Gaussian splat. I fly virtually around this model in After Effects. You can easily import these scenes to After Effects and use the camera to fly around this, to hover around this. And the last scanning I did it with a special LiDAR laser, which allows you to scan of very big spaces within a very short time. So in this way, you can scan, I don't know, a whole marketplace within half an hour. So this is what the splats look like. They are not polygonal. When you look at it from below, you can sort of see those bits and pieces out of which the whole scene is being built. The better scans you do, the more splats you have in those places. From the top, nothing was recorded, only from the ground. So if you look at it from the top, we have a scene like that. Musical videos. Okay, so this is also a scanned element. Here's the sound. It was scanned in such a way in order to be able to get into that can. Okay, so if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them. I have immediate questions starting from the end, from the Gaussian splat. How much time does it take to generate such a scene with a car, for example, in terms of scanning there on the site and then in post-production? The scene with the car, it takes about that much time. You have a car, I turn on the scanner. There are two parts of the scanner. The smaller part that would allow me to shoot inside. It takes about 10 seconds in the middle. I get out. I add it to the big part of the camera, and it's about 30 seconds around the car. And this is recorded. The material is recorded. Then the post-production of this material, creating 3D models, takes about 1 day of work, all the settings, and 1 day of computer processing. The computer calculates those splats for itself. The version that was recorded from Elida, which I will show it to you here. So here we also tried to put in those splats into Apple Provision, a virtual reality. And this is how you can walk around in the goggles, in your VR goggles around that space. So here you've got the scanner. I hold it in my hand. It's made out of leather and 360 degrees camera. Later, all this scan was made in like 15 minutes. So 15 minutes of such a big space, and processing of that footage, it's about 13 hours of computer work. What's your graphics card? 4090. Concerning the spots, that's it. The cameras that I produced is also a very light camera that has been prepared for a Facebook project on demand, so that they could make a flight with an inspired drone at 4,000 meters in the mountains. So in the mountains, you have a very sort of the air pressure is very low, and no drone can hold a heavy camera. So I had to come up with an idea, a very light camera with a very high quality that would be able to fly at that air density. So that was the camera that we did, and this was also used with Inspired. And this project has been already recorded. It's in addition right now. They destroyed my camera. They hit it, I don't know, against a piece of rock. A month ago, I was flying in a church with the same sort of a drone. It's a new type of drone made out of this camera, and they destroyed my drone. I destroyed the drone and the camera. And it was not my fault. The drone just broke in mid-air. The GPS was off, all the sensors were off. I was flying 100% on manual, and still it didn't work out. Of course, I recorded everything, and that was the last shot of that project. And during the last shot, the drone fell down and destroyed the camera. Here we have a very small drone, FPV, to fly very close to children and other people, and you can it has a GoPro quality, 4K 60 FPS. You can fly very close, underneath, wherever you wish, under the chairs. You can make some crazy shots if you want to record anything like that. For your movie, I can help you. You can set up scenes, tell me that you want to fly like this or like that, or just tell me that this is a scene, and just make it a nice shot out of this, and I can do some crazy shots for you. Here, a bigger one, a longer drone. It's called 5 because it's 5-inch propellers. It is pretty fast, and you can set up GoPros on the top, or 360 degrees on top, on or below. It's a dangerous drone. You can't fly it close to humans because the propellers are not protected. And it flies very fast. Tell me, what is the process? Unless somebody else has a question. Sorry. In which software can you, if I wanted to make out of such a movie, I wanted to make a simple scene, like a 3D scan. Postproduction. It's a scene that I showed you. This scene is imported right now to postshot, and the software is much easier for people who don't know how to program, how to code. Because initially I did Gaussian splats through a special software. I was coding, and that was very difficult for me because I'm not a programmer. And here, with this producer, we improved certain bugs, and through that software you can stitch together some
gotowe i będzie to można wygenerować już w tym postshocie, no tak, żeby mieli dobrą graficzną kartę, nie mniejszą za 2090. A później on ma plugin do After Effecta i teraz jest nowy plugin do Unity. Można eksportować do Unity albo do After Effecta. I w After Effectie postprodukcji robić tam lot kamery, a w Unity nagrywać filmy w wirtualnych studiach.
Ja mam jedno pytanie. Chciałbym, żebyś mi powiedział, jak wygląda taki proces tworzenia rigu customowego, spersonalizowanego. Czyli mam jakiś projekt VR-owy albo nie VR-owy i znajduję Ciebie gdzieś na LinkedInie, wchodzę na Twoje media społecznościowe i piszę: hej Andrzej, potrzebuję riga. Jak to wygląda, ile to trwa, jeżeli bym chciał kamerę na przykład 360 albo customowego drona? Jak to działa?
Ostatni projekt, może miesiąc temu był, z United Kingdom zadzwonili do mnie chłopaki, które puszczają różny sprzęt, różne kamery do kosmosu i nagrywają różne rzeczy przed kamerą w kosmosie. I oni powiedzieli, oni chcą nagrać zorze z kosmosu. Jak ja mogę im pomóc? Ja powiedział, że muszę wiedzieć, jakie kamery chcecie używać, jakie linzy, jakie sensory. Później ja muszę mieć jedną kamerę u siebie w domu, żeby zrobić panoramne ujęcie. Zwykle panoramne jedno ujęcie. Później ja to ujęcie styczuję w 5 GUI, w jedną 360 sferę i wtedy ja już patrzę, jaki kąt widzenia ma te linzy. Ja nigdy nie patrzę na te specyfikacje na sajtach, ile ma kąt widzenia te linzy, sensory, bo nigdy to nie takie precyzyjne. Тому ja robię stitching draftowy i kiedy już zrobiony stitching, ja patrzę, jaki kąt widzenia ma te linzy. Wtedy decyduję, ile ja muszę umieścić tych kamer, żeby cała sfera była pokryta. I jak co oni chcą 3D, to wtedy tych kamer będzie w 2 razy więcej. Tu był projekt tej kamery do kosmosu, który oni puścili i musieli jeszcze wymyślić gimbala, który działa bez przeciwak na lince. Jak co umieścicie na lince zwykłego gimbala, który istnieje na rynku, on nigdy nie będzie działać, nigdy nie będzie tak stabilizować, bo gimbal musi być ręcznie trzymany, jakoś zafiksowany, żeby inna część działała. A tu my mamy, że linka, która kręci się zawsze i ona nigdy nie zafiksowana. Тому musiał zrobić takie oprogramowanie i ten gimbal, żeby on mógł stabilizować tą część dolną z kamery. A to z góry będzie podczepione pod balon i balon już leciał do góry. Oni już nagrali te ujęcia i powiedzieli, że im nie wystarcza jakości tych instakamer i teraz decydują, żeby ja złożył riga z Sony, tych 4, z pełnokładkowego. Tak. Send to Space kompania nazywa się.
A ile jesteś jeszcze na Filmspringu? Żeby Cię można było gdzieś
do jutra,
zatrudnić?
do wieczora. Myślę, że tak. Dobra, to wariant, ta opcja była zrobiona, oni chcieli bardzo lekką kamerę, no żeby ona nagrała 3D tylko z przodu, bo aktor będzie z przodu, a tam już nie obowiązkowo było 3D. Тому ja do tej kamery jeszcze dodał stereo parę z przodu, żeby nagrać jeszcze dodatkowe stereo. I ten dron, który zrobiony na ostatni ten projekt. On tak samo ma z przodu stereo parę, a tam nie 100% stereo. Tu będzie około 50% stereo na tych z tego boku. Tylko z przodu będzie 100% stereo z kątem około 100 stopni. I tak samo z przodu i z tyłu. Ten dron będzie lecieć z takim nachyłem. On leci nie tak jak zwykle, a kiedy musisz mieć prędkość 250 km na godzinę, to dron leci w taki sposób. I kamera, ta, która główna, ona musi być nachylona na tak, prosto, żeby patrzeć, a dron będzie lecieć. I kiedy lądujesz, to albo nic nie patrzysz, bo patrzysz w górę swojej kamery i lądujesz na takim dronie, albo ustawiasz specjalny serwo na tę główną kamerę i kiedy już skończył lot, to serwo robi twoją kamerę na dół i wtedy lądujesz. Ja chętnie pomogę wam coś tam, z nagraniem jakimś 360 wideo. No, dla mnie to fajnie zawsze jakieś wyzwanie. To dla klienty z Facebooka, z Red Bulla, oni piszą do mnie, kiedy oni nie mogą nic nagrać. No, oni mają pomysł, no nie wiem jak jego zrealizować. I to wtedy możesz ty zrobić. Ja mówię, że nigdy tego nie robiłem, no zrobiłem. Wymyśliłem coś i ja wtedy projektuję ten sprzęt, buduję jego, robię testy, stitchuję i później albo jadę z nimi razem i nagrywam, albo wysyłam ten sprzęt i oni to nagrywają, wysyłają mi materiał i ja ten materiał stitchuję. Tak.
A jaką najcięższą kamerę miałeś?
Powiem tak, że jak co chcecie małym budżetem ponagrywać, to Titana kamery pod Alta X dronem, to Alta będzie normalne, to 5 kg kamera.
5 kg.
No 5 kg, tak. I ten gimbal zrobiony na 15 kg kamera, no teraz tu 5 kg testuję. I on, no, gimbal bez przeciwwag. Jak nie umieścisz 5 kg, on będzie stabilizować. Umieścisz 10 kg, on będzie stabilizować. 15 kg tak samo. To, no,
Czyli podpiąłeś kiedyś coś, co miało 15 kg? Tak?
Nie, ja powiem tak, że ja specjalizuję się ostatnim czasem na takim sprzęcie, żeby jakомога lekszy on był, żeby mniejsze drony używać. Тому я і проєктую такі легчуткі камери спеціально до дронів. А то те малютким награне так близько. To na 360 kamerą nagrane, a później zrobiony reframe tego wideo. Żeby, no da, do używania nie dla 360, a tak na tak.
Słuchajcie, wykorzystujcie okazję, bo to jest topowy specjalista. Macie okazję podpytać o pewne detale pracy, szczegóły i tajniki.
Dzień dobry. Mam pytanie o jakość. Jak jest najlepsza jakość może być nagrane z ten typu drony? Jak może być RAW albo nie? Czy ile bitów możemy mieć z kamera, która może być używana z ten dron?
Nie zrozumiałe pytanie, no myślę, że chcesz zapytać, jaką maksymalną jakość można otrzymać z tych 360 kamer, bo
Albo w ogóle ze sprzęt, który może być używany z ten drony. Na przykład jest 5 kg drona.
Może być 25 kg spokojnie, nawet 50-70 kg można agrodrony używać, na których możesz sam latać. No tam 80 kg. I można umieścić nawet bardzo ciężką kamerę. I jak co jest budżet, to ja mogę sprojektować 360 kamerę z Arri Alexa, z Redów albo z tej Sony Venus. Sony Venus bardzo fajne możliwości, bo oni mają sensor okrzemo od kamery. I ten sensor można umieścić bardzo blisko obok siebie. No, w taki sposób ja już liczył dla swoich klientów. Tam kamera taka 360 będzie kosztować $500 000 euro. Tak. Da, no i to jest możliwe i na takie jest klienty, tak. Można projektować te kamery, rigi.
A czy kręciłeś coś na taśmie kiedyś?
Nie, na taśmie nie kręcę. No jak co jest propozycja, to ja mogę wymyślić, jak złożyć riga z takich kamer i możemy nagrać.
Możesz być pierwszy.
Tak, możesz być pierwszy. Takiego nikt w świecie nie robiłem. Na taśmę nie nagrywał 360 wideo.
Na 360? To prawda, ale no po prostu. Okej.
Tak.
When you shoot 360 degrees videos with a drone,
Yeah.
Do you prefer to use FPV mode or normal mode?
I'm always trying to use only drones with full manual mode, and when I'm flying, even with the small drones like Mavic or something similar, if it's not possible to connect to goggles, I just add my own solution camera to the drone and fly FPV. Because I'm feeling better and I feel all dimension of a drone and I know how to fly very close to object and not hit it. That's why I prefer to fly with the goggles but not on a tablet. Tablet it's a huge problem because of some kind of sun to this tablet is not visible. And here I see this big screen and every small details, bushes, leaves, and I can fly inside this tree even.
Thank you.
A ile kosztuje taki mały dron? W sensie ten dron, co leży, ten najmniejszy, tak?
I powiem tak, że najdroższa część to kupić gogle i ten transmitter, z którym sterujesz. I to jest uniwersalna rzecz do wszystkich FPV dronów. Dalej już to 200-300 dolców kosztuje, to 500 euro. A sam dron zależy od tego, jakie silniki, jakie motory zechcesz, od 200 do 10 tysięcy euro. Ten około 200 euro sam dron. Dalej jeszcze system wideo od DJI, on używany, który specjalnie do tych goglów zrobiono. No i ten system 200 euro kosztuje. I ten system tak samo może być przestawiony na inny dron, ustawiony tu. No teraz tu ustawione te systemy i w tym, i w tym.
A ten mały dron to jest twojego autorstwa, czy to jest jakiś...
Nie, on zrobiony z tym Chińczykami produkowany, ta rama, część, no on przerobiony. On był jedno kupiony i przerobiony pod moje rzeczy, pod moje nagrywanie. Można, teraz DJI wypuścił na rynek DJI Avata 2. I ten dron to jest FPV dron do latania w goglach. I ten dron ma dużo różnych czujników. I nawet jak co nigdy nie latałem FPV, ty możesz im już lecieć. Coś podobnego tam tworzyć. Wszystkie takie drony, takie, oni nie mają żadnych czujników. Nawet nie mają GPS-ów, nie mają lidarów, sensorów. I ty wszystko musisz ręcznie to sterować. I tomu możesz wykonywać loty takie, jakie nigdy nie wykonasz ze zwykłych takich dronów. Nawet te drony można przerobić do FPV, wyrzucić wszystkie czujniki i latać im FPV.
I don't know if it was made before, but is it possible to connect an ordinary VR goggles to the drones, like for example the MetaQuest?
VR goggles to MetaQuest? Not really understand.
MetaQuest goggles as VR goggles.
Yes.
For pilot drones.
And I can say I did it before and make the first such test. Where is it? Here is it. I did this. Zrobiłem w taki sposób, że instalował transmisję, ustawił transmisję z drona na serwer w Niemczech, w Niemczech. I ten serwer, gogle odbierali ten sygnał z serweru w Niemczech. I tak samo nie tylko ja mógł oglądać te wideo, a wszystkie ludzie w całym świecie mogli w rzeczywistym czasie oglądać wideo z mojego drona w zwykłych Oculus goglach. No jeden mocny problem to latencja. W takich goglach ty nie odczuwasz latencji. Ona tam 0,111 tam sekunda. I ty możesz sterować bardzo precyzyjnie i bardzo szybko. W taki sposób sterowania masz latencję 1 sekundę. Тобто tu sterujesz i za 1 sekundę ty już patrzysz obraz, to co tam dzieje się. I ja powiem tak, że ten lot udał się bardzo dużym failem. I pomiędzy tymi dwoma basztami ja nie zmógł przelecieć. No, ja przeleciał, ja myślał, że ja już poza nimi. A tak wyszło, że latencja była ta 1 sekunda, 1,5 sekundy i ja wleciał w jedną pikę i ten dron. Już koniec, nie ma tego drona. Ну, то був такий мій тест. Для мене було цікаво, чи то є можливе sterowanie FPV дроном przez zwykły goggle. Так, то є можливе, але з bardzo dużej латенцією. І то 1 секунда, то в ogóle najmniejsza latencja, która możliwa. Ja znalazł sposób, żeby przez ten serwer ustawił swoje oprogramowanie, żeby była tylko 1 sekunda. Bo zazwykle, kiedy ty robisz transmisję tam na YouTube albo gdzieś, to masz 30 sekund, minuta opóźnienia w tej transmisji. A tu ja mam tylko 1 sekundę do sterowania. Sorry?
It's still too much.
Too much.
Yeah, too much. No, 1 second is too much for steering the drone. 1 second latency. Even a half second latency is too much because if you will fly very close to people, you need to see in a real time this shoot in the goggles.
And as the FPV drones. Or
Yes, it's from the transmission.
right, okay. Yeah, okay. So as the FPV drones get better and better, and I think we will see them used in feature films more and more. So what's kind of scenes, what kind of shots do you think that those FPV drones can be very useful to, like, and yeah, if you're working on feature films, if you're working, what kind of scenes are those? Like, I don't know, car chases or what's?
FPV drones is the most built for very fast moving shots.
Yeah.
So some kind of acrobatic shots, which not possible to shoot on a standard drones. That's why if director come up some interesting shots, or for example, one shot from one peak, dive to the ground, directly to the ground, from up to the ground, then go to the actors, and in this case, it's only possible to do with FPV drones, FPV drones. In another cases, you can use the standard drones. Even you can fly with Inspire FPV, but to fly very close, slowly, maybe not even slowly, but you cannot do acrobatic some things. You can fast flying forward, backward, but not an acrobatic thing. But if you want to do some acrobatic, you need to have an FPV drones.
And with those drones that can take up, for example, an Alexa, like, are you able to fly with them inside, or is it just outside?
Yes,
and like,
yes,
what
no,
are the?
no, it's possible.
How should we think about this in terms of like safety, and what is possible,
yes,
what is not?
It's
like
possible, and it's possible to build some small footprints drone. It's like it will be like this size. Aria Alexa, almost the same size as the drone, but it's extremely loud.
Okay.
And it have a huge airflow.
Okay.
And you need to understand that you can't fly under the table where is a lot of papers.
Yeah.
It will be blowing, and you can't shoot any sound if you will fly with such a drones. And all these drones, all propellers have a prop guards like this one. We have huge motors like this one, but very small props in a high RPM, and we have not only 4 but 8 motors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 motors. Yeah, 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom motors combined. I can show you one of them, but this one was not created for indoor flights because I don't have prop guards on it. Which one? This one? one. It's wait. Tu mamy, to był mój pierwszy prototyp cineliftera, ciężkiego drona do nagrywania 360 wideo. Tu było umieszczone 4 z góry kamery i 4 z dołu tej GoPro'sa. And we have 8 motors without prop guards. And it can fly near 160 kilometers per hour. It's less than 200 kilometers.
How hard it is to do some stitching with as much cameras?
It's extremely hard to stitch such kind of video, and you need to have a lot of different tricks, special solutions to receive a good result. I can say you that if I will give you such material to a lot of different stitchers, they can do a good job because, for example, how look like the workflow with such rig. First of all, you need to download all video, open After Effects, synchronize all video by clap, by sound, then render it or import to After Effects. In After Effects, to apply template to remove a distortion of this video, not a fisheye distortion. GoPro adds some kind of weird distortion which we need to remove it before stitch it. We remove it, then import to gyroflow software which is stabilizing this video with gyroscope data. We stabilize each video separately. Then this video stabilized using in DaVinci colorize it before stitching, because if we will try to colorize after stitching such huge material, 16K, 60 FPS, it takes us too much time. If we not have so much time, we need to colorize it before and then stitch it in Mystica VR with the PTGUI software. So it's a huge, long workflow, but it's possible to do such kind of stitching. I can teach you how to do it, and I can show you any kind of my tricks. I also selling my tutorials, 1,000 euro for one tutorials.
Yeah. Teraz opowiedz nam, gdzie możemy Cię znaleźć. Pokaż nam.
Tak, a gdzie ja?
Jaka jest najlepsza metoda, żeby się z Tobą skontaktować?
No najlepsza metoda to Facebooka. Ja na Facebookie bardzo często jest odpowiadam na linki na Instagramie ja Andrej Szramko. Na Facebookie Andrej Szramko. I have some, I forget about my promo card. Yeah. A visit card.
Ale skoro jesteś jeszcze do jutra, no to każdy może podejść do Ciebie i pogadać.
Możecie podejść do mnie i my skontaktujemy się. Ja od razu dodam Was do swoich friendów i zawsze możecie liczyć na mnie. Jak co macie pytanie odnośnie 360 wideo, jak co jakieś macie pomysły odnośnie tego, że chcecie coś nagrać i nie wiecie jaki sprzęt wybrać, jakie kamery, to ja zawsze mogę Wam pomóc z wyborem albo istniejących kamer na rynku. Jak co ja wiem, że możecie nagrać tej jakości, jaką chcecie, to ja Wam zaproponuję, że lepiej kupcie te kamery, te sensory, linzy i nagrajcie sobie ten film. Jak co Rozumiem, że macie jakieś specjalne pomysły, specjalny frame rate, slow motion, tam 3D, pod wodą nagrania albo tam w kosmosie, to wtedy ja może Wam pomóc zorganizowanie takiego sprzętu z projektowaniem od zera, tam specjalne drony sprojektujemy, tam najcięższe drony, najcięższe kamery, zależy od tego, jaki macie budżet, takie zrobimy i kamery.
Potwierdzam, Andrew potrafi bardzo dobrze doradzić odnośnie budżetu też, odnośnie tego, jaki sprzęt wybrać, także nieraz mi pomógł. Słuchajcie, to pewnie będziemy kończyć, chyba że jeszcze jakieś ostatnie pytanko ktoś ma. Bo oczywiście Andrew jest dostępny, możecie z nim pogadać sobie cały czas teraz na FSO. To ostatnie pytanie.
And according to you, like what is the best for to do some shrinking, like kind of precise shrink? It's better to do it with the whole drone or to have some kind of tool who will shrink independently?
What is it? Can go precise shrink? What is it?
Tak, w sensie, czy realizując,
Tak.
czy realizując ujęcie, jakby lepiej skręcać z całym dronem, żeby się obrócić w jakąś stronę i coś uchwycić, czy no właśnie korzystasz z tego gimbala i sama kamera się obraca?
To będzie zależeć od tego, it will be, it all depends where you want to show this video. If you're planning to show it in VR goggles, this movement, this kind of movement is very sickness. It's not even, not advise you to shoot even with a drone or a gimbal like this kind. But if you want to shoot for regular films, the simplest way is to use the drone and fly this way. But if you need to fly straight and you need only do a panorama camera, if you don't need to move to the right, to the left, you need to move it only with a gimbal with another guy which will steer in this gimbal. If you need to fly straight, you need to move this gimbal. If you want to show this movement exactly, not only panoramic, so you need to fly with FPV drone. But it's also possible to do with a standard drone because you don't have any acrobatic movement. We can fix the camera on, for example, on an Inspire drone, and it will follow with a follow yaw, and we can fly with an Inspire drone the same way, and the camera will move it, follow the drone.
Okay. Czy mogę jeszcze jedną też? To ja mam jeszcze pytanie o to, czy robiłeś coś bo mówisz, że są drony, które potrafią unieść człowieka.
Tak.
I czy realizowałeś jakieś zdjęcia właśnie, na których ktoś był, nie wiem, zawieszony na tym dronie albo
Tak,
coś tam,
jest.
tak? Okay.
Yeah. To drony przeznaczone do agro. Oni zalewają dużo tam wody i latają. I tomu dla niego unieść człowieka to nie problem. Тому на takich dronach można umieścić te 80 kg sprzętu. No spokojnie. Nawet widziałem, że kiedyś jedna osoba wyrzuciła ten bak ze środka, ustawiła tam krzesło, siadła w tego drona i poleciała.
Yeah, I think I saw that too.
To jest podobny tak samo. Leci sobie na dronie. you can buy such drone easy on the market and fly in it. Nie wiadomo. No to tak. No to...
Nie próbujcie tego na filmspringopen. Słuchajcie, dzięki Andrzej za prezentację. Tak jak mówiłem, Andrzej do jutra jest jeszcze tutaj, więc wykorzystajcie ten czas na maksa, żeby się dowiedzieć wszystkiego, co Andrzej wam może powiedzieć jeszcze. Możecie sobie podejść i pooglądać teraz te wszystkie gizma Andrzeja i podopytywać i pewnie dotknąć. A co do produkcji, no to oczywiście umawiajcie się z nim. Jeżeli macie jakiś pomysł, jak wykorzystać drona fajnie, no to też sobie spróbujcie to wykorzystać jutro. I już indywidualnie możecie konsultować się z Andrzejem po prezentacji. Dzięki jeszcze raz.
Tak, dziękuję bardzo. Miło was poznać. Tak. Dziękuję.